David Bailey, number 6. Bailey still has a chance to take the number 1 plate here in the 1986 $500,000 Nippendenzo Series. There's Ricky Johnson with his helmet all the way over the bars, concentrating. Here we go, the start of the main event. It's 20 laps, and the winner of this race could very well come close to clinching the number 1 plate for the season. Wow, we got some Kawasaki's going way on the outside. Meanwhile, up in front, it looks like Yamaha with the lead. Burnworth, it looks as though, has taken one more hole shot. Ricky Johnson was on the inside, ended up going way to the outside end of that berm. Let's see if it helps him over here in this corner. RJ will come out of turn number 3 in 3rd place. So you got Burnworth up on top, Ron Lachine in 2nd. There he is. In 3rd is Ricky Johnson, Jeff Liskin 4th, and David Bailey. Bailey, I haven't seen at all in the top 5. Bailey in some kind of trouble. We'll get our spotters to get a look for him, but it's number 18, Scott Burnworth with the lead. Number 2, Lachine in 2nd, and RJ is back in 3rd. Well, this is exactly the kind of race that RJ wanted to run. He wanted to get a good start, not necessarily the lead, but somewhere up on top, right at the very beginning, so the pressure would be put on Bailey. We're still looking for him. Bailey is in dead last. At the end of the first lap, David Bailey was in dead last place. Here he is right now. No, that's number 9, Keith Bowen. We're still trying to get a spot on David Bailey coming up someplace. Counting way, way back. Finally, there he is. David Bailey, number 6, apparently went into the back end of a rider in the very first corner of the race, killed his engine, had to restart it, and now has got to pick his way up from the very tail end of the pack. Oh, does this turn stuff around? Now, we've already determined before the race got underway that if Ricky Johnson won, David Bailey would have to do better than 8th place in order to keep from being mathematically eliminated from any shot at the title. So we'll keep one eye on that situation as we go back to the top of the pack. As you can see, we've got ourselves number 5 right now, Ricky Johnson, ahead of Ron Lachine. Burnworth got taken out a little bit earlier. Burnworth went down, or I should say went out when Ricky Johnson went by him. So RJ in the lead, Lachine in 2nd place. Jeff Leake is still running in 3rd. And Jeff, I tell you, Jeff has had himself a real good season here. At the very beginning of the year, you may recall how Jeff was the guy who landed flat on his nose at Anaheim Stadium. No, I take that back. That was at San Diego, where he had to be airlifted out of there in a helicopter. A very serious injury that Motocross Action caught a spectacular picture of. The problem was the injury took him a couple of weeks off the circuit. It wasn't until about a month ago that he came back real strong. Last week at the Pasadena Rose Bowl, he finished 2nd to Ricky Johnson, and right now he's running 3rd. Here's RJ number 5 still on top. Lachine number 2 in 2nd place. Really hasn't looked to be much of a threat ever since RJ passed him. Not quite at the halfway mark of the race right now, and I can see by looking at the track that the cars, the Class 10 vehicles that we were looking at just a little bit earlier on our Moto Video picture tube right here, have really packed down the dirt. You're not looking at a lot of big, wide, loomy surfaces where you can get some great traction. The dirt very hard packed down. It's a very rough surface, and because there's so little dirt on the side, you really have to watch your balance on these machines. Remember, these guys are all running knobby tires out there, and if they're not careful, that rubber can just wash out from underneath them at almost any opportunity. Now, I haven't said much yet about number 2, Ron Lachine, and I got to say that this is Ron's best main event performance of the 1986 season so far. Ron, as we mentioned earlier, he had some personal problems during the off-season, trying to adjust to a new team this year. This is his first season on Kawasaki, and Ron really has had a lot of tough time making the adjustment this year. But right now, running a very solid 2nd place. Here we go with David Bailey. We've just been told Bailey has moved up into 10th place. Here we go, back with the leaders right now. Ricky Johnson again looking back over his shoulder for David Bailey, and he does not see him. Ricky looked back over his shoulder 3 times and could not see that big number 6 anywhere. So he may be beginning to sense that championship scent. Remember, if Bailey does not get up any higher than 8th place, Ricky will clinch the overall title today, right here at Phoenix. We're trying to look back and count him back down right now. We're watching for number 6, David Bailey, to come around. There he is. David is all the way back down in 12th place. He's in the 12th position. He's got to pass 4 riders just to stay in contention. That's to stay within the mathematical realm, which will make it possible for him to win a championship, much less have a realistic chance at it. RJ in the lead. Number 2, Ron Lechien. Ron has a couple fast laps, a couple slow laps. He's been hanging right there about, well, anywhere from 1 to 4 seconds behind big number 5. There's a good shot. You can see just how hard that track is. You don't see much of a roost right there coming out from underneath the back tire. That shows you just how far or how tightly down that dirt is packed in there. 5 Johnson in the lead. Lechien in second place, the Kawasaki rider. Again, Ron Lechien's best ride so far of the year. There's only one more round of the Supercross series to go after this. That's when everybody goes to the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum in June. Right now you can see David Bailey gets by one rider. That's Guy Cooper, so that puts him up into 11th place. He's still got 3 more positions to go just before he can be eliminated. A tough position for Bailey. A real bad start on his part. Actually, not so bad a start. He just got caught in traffic out there in between the first and second corner. Then after that point, because of the fact that this track is fairly easy, and by being easy, I mean it's not nearly as technical as many of the Supercross tracks that you see, David's having a tough time passing him because he specializes in that stuff. Okay, there's number 3, Johnny O'Mara and Jeff Leask. After that, that's 3rd and 4th place. Number 1, Jeff Ward in 5th. 9, Bowen in 6th place. Bailey still has not climbed up out of 10th. Now this is unofficial, remember. We're just trying to count them down here, and there may be a lapped rider or two, but I don't believe that Bailey has climbed up out of 10th place at all, and that spells big-time trouble for the former 2-time Grand National Champion. Nobody would have ever expected that Ricky Johnson would even have a chance of taking the Supercross title with 1 race left to go. But it looks like that's the way that this Phoenix race is developing. You see number 8, Eric Kehoe, back a bit there in the distance. Kehoe is a lap down. Your 2 front runners right next to each other, then a big gap before you get back to Johnny O'Mara in 3rd. They're at the finish line again. Number 5, rad and bad, Rick Johnson. Boy, has this been his year. Started off real nice in Anaheim. He almost won it there, and many people say he would have had it not been for that controversial blocking by Burnworth going on. Number 1, Wardy. We've talked before about how tough he has had it during this season. Seems like he's either falling on someone or having someone run into him almost all season long. Tough time for him. I really can't say enough about the fact that Lechien is hanging in there in this race. Number 2 finally seems to have dialed in that 250KX of his and is really learning how to ride that Kawasaki around the track. It's becoming more and more apparent that Ricky's got a fairly comfortable lead up in front. So I'll tell you what, let's go back to an earlier interview that Dave Stanfield did with the former 250 national champ.
The style of your riding, give us a quick synopsis, how it's changed over the season from day one. Is it still the style king, 2-hip style, or is it a more, hey, I've learned to control my speed a little bit more?
Well, it's a little bit of both, actually. It's the best of both worlds. I used to be a little bit crazy, go a little bit too fast and fall every now and then. Now I've sort of calmed myself down and I ride at a comfortable pace where I'm still going fast. But hey, the people don't come to sit and watch someone cruise around slow. They want to see some cross-ups and some long jumps every now and then. So you gotta please the people too. So I'm here to please the people, but most of all please myself by just going fast.
A lot of people forget that he was the champion of the 250cc outdoor class in 1984. Carried that plate all through the 1985 season. Here in 1986, of course, big number 5 on his bike. Now there's another look at David Bailey. Bailey, number 6, has worked his way up into 9th place. He still has got to finish at least in 8th. Otherwise, Bailey will be mathematically eliminated from any chance of taking the 1986 Supercross Championship. 25 points is the amount. Oh, look at that! Bailey goes ahead and kills his engine in the sandpit. Oh, what a terrible break. That is going to throw his last chance completely out the window. Well, the refrigerator door's shut, the lights out, and you may as well take it on home, Sailor, because I don't see how he is going to have any chance at all of moving up into a position to challenge Ricky Johnson here at Tempe, Arizona. A terrible break for David Bailey. That's a very deep sandpit that Bailey went into just a few moments ago. The problem is that there is some very tightly packed dirt right underneath that sand, and if you're not careful, your front end will lose all momentum going into that last berm. As a matter of fact, during press day a couple of days ago, Bailey tried to triple those very same jumps right there in the sand and ended up erupting a big gash in his leg. So that place apparently is going to be the end of him here for the 1986 season. He'll still be at the Los Angeles Coliseum for the final round, but he won't be able to contend for the #1 plate. It looks like he'll have to settle for #2. Now, I don't believe Ricky Johnson knows all this yet. Remember, Ricky can't count back 8, 9 positions during a race. As a matter of fact, he probably isn't even thinking about that at all. He's just figuring that David's back there in 4th, 5th, or 6th someplace. So we ought to have one real surprise puppy right after the checkered flag goes off right here. Ricky Johnson, #5. In 1983, he dislocated his hip. He was out of racing for 6 months. In 1984, he won $250,000 as he took the 250cc outdoor national championship. He won 4 out of 10 events in the National Series that year. Of course, last year, 1985, he led the Rodeo controversy. That was the World Supercross Finals, where many of the riders were caught sandbagging it, and Ricky Johnson was the first rider to get up in front of the crowd and say that he was going all out, and he wasn't afraid to do so, even though he knew he'd be penalized with a second wave start. And right here, right now, even though he probably doesn't know it, he's on his way to becoming the 1986 Nippendenzo Supercross champion. Oh boy, is this a thrill! Just a matter of time right now. Lachine has dropped back off the pace, and Ricky is back into his old style and self. You know, I can't help but feel a little sorry for Ricky because he's probably feeling a little frustrated right now. The people all around the stands are waving at him like mad. And Ricky doesn't really have any towering jumps where he can show off that rad and bad style that he enjoys so much. When he raced at the Pasadena Rose Bowl just a week ago, he took 1 extra victory lap just for the sole purpose of doing some extra styling and waving at the fans. Here's David Bailey, #6, again trying just as hard as he can to get back into the race, but with only about 2 laps left to go, time has all but run out for the former 2-time Grand National Champion, at least for the 1986 Supercross season it has. What a tough, tough series of breaks for David Bailey. And on the other side of the coin, what a great series of events for the newest member of Team Honda, Ricky Johnson. At the beginning of the year, he took 2nd at Anaheim to Bailey. The next race out at Houston, he would have won, but ended up finishing in 3rd place. Then he went down to San Diego and won for the first time ever in front of the home crowd. In Seattle, he took a 2nd to Jeff Ward and then won the very next day on Sunday. The white flag is out. 1 lap left to go before Ricky Johnson is crowned the 1986 AMA Nippendenzo Supercross champion. Friends, the people in the stands are standing up and going wild right now. They can count back and see just how far Bailey is. Ricky Johnson still apparently unaware of the title that's going to be given to him as soon as he crosses that finish line and as soon as David Bailey finishes 9 positions back. #2, Ron Lachine. You got to give Ronnie a lot of credit. He's had a super night out here tonight. That is his best finish, or I should say this will be his best finish when he crosses the finish line ever during the season. There's a nice little wave to the crowd from Ricky Johnson. He looks back over his shoulder. He's trying to count back and see where Bailey is, and he doesn't see him. The checkered flag is out. Ricky Johnson with the win. And as far as 2nd place goes, it should be Ron Lachine coming across the finish line any second now. There he is. Ronnie coming over, waving at his fans, doing a one-hander. So Ricky, remember, at this point still does not realize that he has apparently won, or I should say clinched, the Supercross championship. There's Ricky waving to his fans who have been so much behind him out here at Phoenix. Phoenix has really taken a liking to RJ, and there he tosses his goggles out to him to say thanks. And a very disappointed David Bailey comes across the finish line out of the top 8 and out of contention for the Supercross title. Let's go to Dave Stanfield.